It's a subject I've been mulling over for quite some time, whether it be iZombie, Jupiter's Legacy, the list goes on. I mean, obviously, without a doubt, one of the prime candidates are Superman and Lois and the Superman comics. But again, like I said, the list goes on, Arrow, so forth and so on. But for this first time ever, from page to screen, will be Resident Alien, because I have the omnibus and I've watched all of the episodes that are out as of so far. So after that open rolls, I'm going to talk about Resident Alien from page to Resident Alien on screen. Whether it's your first time here or you're a regular here at Mr. Super Oz, I just want to thank you for tuning in to the channel. It exists because I, Oz, from the channel Mr. Super Oz, I wrote a 68-page graphic novel called Everlasting Survivors. Volume 1 is called All Day Long. If you follow the link in the description of this video, you can get yourself hats, shirts, posters, all kinds of fun things. But most importantly, you can get the story itself. And the more people that pick up the story, the greater the chances are that there can be continued adventures with these heroes. If you could, give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, leave a comment, enjoy. Friend of the channel, founder of World Class Bullshitters, artist and writer of Stealing Solo and Woke Busters, he said to me the other day, Jeff Hicks that is, I love it when texts like this come in. He says, oh, you can make that happen when Netflix adapts Everlasting Survivors into a series. And I just found it amusing because while I'm not necessarily looking for Netflix money, I will not turn down an investment from somebody who got the dollars, because an influx of money means more products, more dreams come true, all the good stuff. But it got me to thinking about the idea of the adaptation, because there are constant and nearly probably never ending examples of good and bad adaptations. Let's talk about The Boys and Sin City. So, I mean, as an example, so I think Sin City is a great example of both the good and the bad. The first movie, stellar. Second movie, lackluster. But it's because the first movie used all the good material and the second movie used all the bad material. And so you can't really blame the movie of Sin City for being bad when what was bad about it was what was bad in the books. And so one of the biggest takeaways for me when it comes to Resident Alien, the sci-fi original series, and Resident Alien, the graphic novel, one of the biggest things to me is it isn't a one-to-one. It isn't a rip the page out, pop it on the board, and that's your storyboard. No, it's the show uses elements of the book and keeps the general heart of the story. Among the concepts, the alien's name is Harry Vandersmeagel. He's hiding out in a small town, Colorado, Patience, Colorado. Those things remain the same. One of the big changes is in the show he appears, unless he's looking at his own reflection or through the eyes of Max, he appears to be human, but within the context of the story. But again, these things, it's given the medium, but in the context of the comic story, he always appears to be alien because, it just makes sense that when you're drawing a character, you make the character look like the character, and when you're making a show, you make the show visually have the star. So again, when I talk about the differences between page and screen, I I don't necessarily think that they're a bad thing when there are changes, because a lot of the almost all of the characters in the graphic novel are white except for the shaman and his daughter, who's a nurse. Everybody else is well, and the funny thing, the mayor in the show, he's young and he has a wife and a son. In the book, he's old, and there we don't meet his wife, and there's no reason for him to have a 10-year-old. So my point is, a lot of the aspects of the show are changed from the book. Like the bartender is a dude in the book. It's a chick in the show. The deputy is a dude in the book. It's a chick in the show. But while there are changes, I don't think that they are bad. I think that they help make things stand out within the context of the show. And in the case of the book, they aren't bad. They're just different. And so I actually find the differences between Resident Alien the comic and Resident Alien the show complementary and not as jarring as it may seem. Because one of my biggest takeaways from perfect adaptations is the idea that, well, I already read it, so why do I necessarily need the exact carbon copy in a new way? Because I already enjoyed it the original way. And so the reason I like the choice that they made with Resident Alien to shake things up is, while you can see or feel the beats in the show that the book has, they are not identical. And with that, it keeps the mystery alive. So within the graphic novel and season 1 of the show, so volume 1 and season 1 both deal with the death of the local doctor. Sam, I want to say Harris, but it's not Sam Harris, it's Dr. Sam. Anyway, so in both the graphic novel and the show, they're dealing with the death of the local doctor, Sam. And that's what leads to Harry being the fill-in doctor, because they need an autopsy. They need information on the death. And so they reach out to a semi-retired, or in the case of the show, almost recluse doctor, and have him help. But the reason he's a recluse and semi-retired is because he's an alien. But the thing I like about the show and the book changing the motivation and the inspiration behind the story is, I can enjoy Harry figuring out who killed and why the doctor in both mediums, because they're not identical. And it's not as though me knowing the outcome of one influences the other. And that is so challenging when it comes to adaptation, because I'll say, because I don't think I'll be doing this one in the near future, I will say that's one thing that I thought was a bit of a struggle for me to get into Invincible, the Amazon Prime animated series, is because I thought it was too similar to the book. So I kept seeing beats that I had already read, and it was like, it makes it hard for me to invest. Whereas with this, the framework is there and the concept is being executed, but it's not a mirror image of one another, thus making it so that I can find enjoyment in both mediums, both on the page and on the screen. And I find that to be so enjoyable. And so much so that, you know, I bought the merchandise, I got the book, gonna get the DVDs. It's like that to me is how you know it's a hit, when everything's hitting on all cylinders and you can get attached to, latch onto, and enjoy the product, whether it be Resident Alien, the graphic novel, or Resident Alien, the ongoing series on, well, from Peacock, Sci-Fi, whatever you call it. I think it's NBC Universal, something like that, parent company. And so, while I haven't gotten this entire formula down as far as what the purpose is, other than to just talk about things that started on the page and have evolved onto the screen, I will say that I do believe both, and maybe that's the takeaway. We'll just come up with it in the moment, and I'll put it that way. Much like how with video games, I say play or don't play, or with certain mediums, I say watch or don't watch. Let's go this way. Resident Alien, is it a read or is it a don't read? And subsequently for the TV show, is it a watch or don't watch? That'll be the big takeaway for the from page to screen ongoing channel regular. And so it's simply this. I believe Resident Alien is definitely a book you should read. It is high quality. It's different enough from the show to where that if you have watched the show first, you will not be disappointed for reading the book. And subsequently, I feel like that the same can be said for the show. If you've read the book but you haven't tried out the show, I definitely think that it's worth the watch. And I feel as though the two properties complement one another, so much so that I say that it is both a read and a watch in the formula of the do or do not binary system. And so with that, the first ever from page to screen is in the books. Resident Alien is, in my opinion, a hit. And thank you for tuning in. Come back next week when we continue down the Mortal Kombat Legends animated review front with Snowblind this time, then more trivia, the Alpha Entertainment Worldwide Reload, and then on Friday of next week will be the first in a new yearly series of a WrestleMania match countdown. This one will be 20 years after WrestleMania 20, counting from the worst to the best match, because, you know, WrestleMania 40 is on the horizon, and so might as well go back in time and talk about WrestleMania 20 from the worst to the best. Thank you for tuning in. Come back next week. Enjoy.